Welcome all. We're so delighted. There's been so much renewed interest in returnships and helping caregivers find pathways back to work, or rather to back to paid work. So thank you all for joining this panel discussion. We're going to be exploring how to power successful returnships. We have an incredible lineup of experts that have been influential in the Intuit Again returnship program that's recently helped Intuit receive recognition as one of Fortune's best workplaces for women. So congrats, Intuit, to begin. I'm Adrienne Young, the Director of Customer Impact with WorkLabs, and we're the Independent Research and Insights Division of the MOM Project. And I'm so privileged to be joined today by Iram Jamil, the Senior Program Manager for Tech Women at Intuit. Iram, if you want to wave. There we go, great. And by Srividya Krishnan. She's a recent Intuit Again returnship program participant and now a full stack developer at Intuit. Srividya, you want to wave?
Hi, everyone.
Great, excellent. And the MOM Project's own Claire Wallace, who oversees the Intuit partnership as a Senior Customer Success Manager. There's Claire. So thank you all for participating in this thoughtful discussion around returnship programming, why it's important, and how to scaffold the elements that are most influential to success for participants and for the organizations they work at. So before we jump in, I thought we could hear from our panelists just a brief note. I just want to cover a brief note that we'll be recording this session, and we're going to make it available to watch after we're done here today. And we're going to walk through a few specific Intuit Again program questions for the panelists so that they can share their experiences with returnships in the context of Intuit. We're also going to be providing some WorkLabs research insights on the drivers that are most influential for returners and for the organizations that they go to for the success of the program. And then at the end, we'll make time to open it up for some Q&A. But what I was trying to say is we're now going to turn it over to the panelists to each share a quick thought about how they value or what they value about returnships and maybe what they hope that we all gain from listening today. So Claire, can we start with you?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Adrienne, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As Adrienne mentioned, I'm Claire Wallace, Senior Customer Success Manager here at the MOM Project. I've been lucky enough to work at the MOM Project for 3 years and support the Intuit Again program and work with Iram for the past 2. And something that I love about returnships is that they're really at the core of our mission here at the MOM Project in highlighting those that have taken time away from the workforce and giving them the ability to re-enter and really highlighting their skill set and their previous experience and proving that they're still just as valuable, if not more of a valuable employee as they come back and re-enter the workforce. So really just anchoring to the fact that it's core to our mission here at the MOM Project.
Couldn't agree more, Claire. Thank you. Iram, would you like to share next?
Yes, thank you, Adrienne. So hi, everyone. My name is Iram Jamil. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Intuit. I'm part of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team and support our Tech Women at Intuit initiative, where our goal is to increase the representation rate for women and underrepresented groups in tech. So I lead the Global Intuit Again returnship program. And this program speaks dearly to my heart because I personally took a career break, oh gosh, more than a decade ago. And I can empathize with the returners who enter into this program. And I'm excited to be here today to discuss our amazing program and hope our audience gets a chance to appreciate the value that a returnship can offer to those who are just contemplating returning to the workforce.
Excellent, thank you. And I couldn't agree more. And as Claire said, we really will learn more about the contributions that this talent can make. So good for them to find that pathway back and also great for the organization to have them. Srividya, will you share a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Adrienne. Hello, everyone. I'm Srividya Krishnan. I'm a full stack developer at Intuit. My current position is software engineering too. In QuickBooks, I mainly work in QuickBooks Worker Management team, which is a product that everyday customer uses now. So I'm so excited developing all those products. Now, I joined Intuit as a returnee last May, in 2022 May, after a break of nearly 5 years. And I had 5 years prior experience back in India, not even in US, back in India. So I'm here, I'm so excited for this webinar, and I'm here today to share how MOM Project and Intuit helped me bring out the values I had as an experienced developer, and it also considered my break there at the same time, keeping the break in the mind, and gradually brought me up to the current workforce competence. Like it brought me up to match the competence of the current workforce. Yeah, I'm so excited to share my experience with it, with
Oh,
everyone.
that's excellent. Well, we're honored to have you. And just as you said, you had 5 years prior experience. We see that again and again with the returning talent. So I think that's an important place to start. And we really appreciate the candor and perspectives that you're all bringing. But Claire, can we take a minute to kind of back out and get a little bit of context around kind of the evolution of returnships or the origin for those that are new to returnships and are maybe joining us to find out even what they are? Can you just kind of share what's a returnship and how it got started and grew?
Absolutely. Thanks, Adrian, and great intros, Iram and Srividya. So happy to have you both here. I know we have quite a mix in our audience today. So to take a step back and really define what a returnship is and where, where they started and how they got to where they are today. So returnship is often called a return to work program, and it's really giving men and women who leave the workplace for extended family or personal leave support to re-enter the paid workforce. It actually dates back, or returnships actually date back to their origin in 2008 and gained slow adoption over the past couple of years now to having nearly 200 returnship programs across the US. We hope that it's really no longer a trend, and it's something that's really here to stay. And the growth of all these programs are largely due to the success that organizations who have implemented them have seen. And investing in returnship programs is really a powerful way to bring the benefits of diverse talent into your organization at scale. And this returnship programming, which we'll dive into a lot more, specifically with Iram and Intuit Again in today's case, advances the critical diversity goals and really elevates your employer brand as a national gender parity movement contributor, not only across your organization, but across the US, and is really just, again, a way to pipeline diverse talent at scale. And here at the Mom Project, I know many of you are familiar with our talent community, but we're over 1 million moms, dads, working parents, and allies strong in our talent community today, made up of really diverse, qualified talent across the US that's looking to return to work for their next opportunity. And just a great way, again, to pipeline that diverse talent. So Adrian, I know we have a lot of stats about caregiving and that specific re-entry point as it relates to COVID. So I'd like to throw it back to you to hit on those a little bit.
You know, anyone in the Work Labs team loves a good stat, and I'll try not to just inundate us with numbers, but I think you touched on a really important point, which is while it's been 2008 since really returnship programs started, the trajectory of them getting increased, and in particular among Fortune 500 companies, is a great data point, right? So the growth of those and the continued use of those by leaders like Intuit is really a great validation point around the success of returnships and returning talent. But I also think that something else you touched on, Claire, is important to note, which is that idea of gender parity. So when we recognize returnships as a tool to make advances in corporate structures that maybe initially weren't designed to consider caregiver needs, it's also another way to consider bolstering the really inclusive cultures that allow the contributions and potentials of caregivers to really thrive. And COVID, man, did a number on caregivers, right? So we were deeply impacted by 5 million jobs. Here I go with stat lineups, but 5 million jobs that were held by women getting lost during COVID. And many of those were the primary caregivers in their house. And then the continuation of that as COVID continued. In 2021, we lost an additional 275,000 women. And many of that was attributed to a lack of childcare or rising costs of childcare. So we did a study specific to childcare, and that was with over 2,000 moms with blended diverse backgrounds and that were working outside of the home at the time. And we learned that a majority were having trouble finding the accessible, affordable, available childcare they needed. So many of those that couldn't find caregiving to suit their needs were forced to step away from the paid workforce. So Iram, I'm going to ask you, as we recognize that substantial impact, particularly with gender parity, that COVID had on this pool of now exceptional returning candidates, and we also know that they make a positive contribution to the organization, can you tell us a little bit why you made a concerted effort, or why Intuit made a concerted effort around specializing a program for women in tech?
Yes. Intuit entered the returnship space more than 7 years ago. And Intuit Again was a program created as a response to data that told us mid-career women who step out of tech to raise a family are at a disadvantage. The global program started in India, and then it was adopted in the US. The program is backed by our senior leadership and has been an incredible staple to Intuit's culture and DEI efforts. And one of the unexpected outcomes of this program is the loyalty that we've experienced by former returners. And returners are those who go through a returnship program. That's what we call them, a returner. This program has an 80% retention rate of returners who have converted successfully to full-time roles. And the common sentiment I hear from these returners is that they say Intuit is a great place to work, and I appreciate the chance that the organization took to hire me after my career break.
I think that's incredible. And that's what we see in the data too. So WorkLabs has done a study on return to paid workforce. And one of the things you just touched on is a critical element, which is that there is executive buy-in, right? That there is someone on the executive team that is really sponsoring this, and that's integrated into the cultural support of the idea of returnship programs. Also, thank you, Iram, for establishing some nomenclature. So when we say returners, we're speaking to the talent that's coming back and has gone through a program, has gone through a returnship program. So thank you for that note. We're also delighted to have a returnship program participant or a returner with us. So that's Srividya. Can you please share with us why it was important to you to have access to this specific on-ramp and a little bit about your experience firsthand?
Yeah, sure. Definitely, Adrian. Thank you. So when I decided to come back to work, so I was so really scared and nervous because I had like 5 years of break, and I know I was in the tech. I know what this 5 year of break means, like a loss of touch in the latest technology. I know I keep updating myself, but the expertise come only with the challenging environment, like challenging work experience. So I was so scared that I was not an experienced expert in the latest technologies that the current current developing group uses. But Intuit Again program gives me that challenge to develop myself to become that expert. I was so nervous in the beginning, and Intuit Again program slowly bring me back to slowly giving me the challenges what I needed to make me an expert. And the first task I got was a little UI component development, which was facing the customers at the end of next week. And that was a big challenge for me after being a returner, because I was on a break. I never developed anything in 5 years, and then and immediately out of the blue, I'm developing a product where customers are going to use that. So but when that component went live, and the customer started using that, that gives me an immense validation, that it gives me the sense of belonging, that I belong in this field. Yes, I'm here. That kind of validation that Intuit Again program brings me. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And we're just so thrilled that you found a fit in this program that matched the drive of your return to work. And some of your experience, again, echoes that study that we did. So again, WorkLabs did a return to paid work study where we spoke to more than 900 candidates that were pursuing returnship programs. And Srividya, your sentiment there matches a lot of what we heard from that group, which is this idea of being able to meaningfully contribute. Like you're saying, you're doing work that's being used, that you got to onboard into to a project that you saw being utilized across Intuit. That's pretty incredible. Yeah. And another thing that we saw is that we were able to identify some distinct ways that the returning talent pool kind of evaluates job opportunities or why they value returning. And one of those is about the validation, to be able to use their existing skills and then to be able to learn new ones and to be recognized as valuable contributors to an organization and bring those talents forward. I mean, additionally, also the validation of being a financial earner was another motivating factor from the study that we saw. Another thing that you alluded to, which we touched on before, is that you had professional experience and that the organization, so that Intuit and IRM was recognizing and acknowledging that. Sometimes when we're in conversations with partners that are exploring the potential of returnship, they will liken it to an internship. And the distinction is that you're talking to seasoned professionals that just have had time away from paid work, but they still have been really growing and embodying other contributions to the organization, like sense of empathy, multitasking, communication skills, so that those things get comprised as a valuable asset as it's perceived by the organization is just really fundamental. And in that being respected and being like a sense of belonging as a contributor out of the gate. So I think that's really beneficial to convey. And thank you, Shrividya, for sharing your experience. Claire, can you share a little bit what you're hearing from the candidates as you screen and curate Right Fit Intuit Again program participants?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Adrienne. And great stories, Shrividya. Got some chills as you were talking through, working on the product, not having developed for 5 years, working on the product that Intuit customers are now using in real time. It's such a great story and really such a strong point that these women and men who have taken time off do have, just like you mentioned, Adrienne, they do have previous professional experience. They're not an intern coming back into this program. They're absolutely worthy of working on real projects. And even in this case, real projects that the end customer is going to be utilizing. So that's such a special tidbit that you're able to share there. So as far as what we're hearing from candidates directly, as we're supporting returnships here at the Mom Project, is really what support will I receive as I become a part of this program? What does that really look like? Is there an opportunity to become a full-time employee after I complete the program? Are there others starting in the program alongside me? Is this a cohort? Is it just me? Returning to work can obviously be very intimidating and scary, and having some sort of cohort alongside the returnship programming itself can be that much more inviting and more validation in your return to work experience. And then will I receive interview prep and support from your team, whether that's Mom Project team or Intuit team or employer team as they're going through the process. And so really the draw and the appeal of these returnship programs are specifically geared towards these returners, and knowing that they'll be supported and respected, and that Intuit in this case, as an organization, really prioritizes making sure that they're welcomed and made to feel like they belong after having potentially been overlooked in many of their previous job pursuits. You know, we know how intimidating the job market is, whether you're returning or not. And that's something that's really key to the success here and what we're hearing from candidates today.
That echoes what we heard from the respondents of our study as well, which is that sense of camaraderie among being in a cohort. And there's returnship structured in innumerable ways, and there's a lot of ways that can accommodate what best suits the organization. But that either tether or touchstone of a mentor or a program guide or cohort comrades or someone, again, that's in the kind of in the trenches together is a huge element. And then a lot of the other things you touched on are the drivers we identified as well, which is being respected, being welcomed and treated like a true part of the organization from the onset. And that's one of the things that Intuit Again does so well, and one of the reasons we wanted this panel to be here today. So Iram, can you talk about some of the ways that the Intuit Again program really reinforces those intangible elements that are so important?
Sure. So we specifically designed our returnship program as a supportive on-ramp to career reentry. And the program is 16 weeks in length, and it helps returners ease back into the workforce. The program is open to anyone who has taken at least who has at least 5 years prior work experience and has been out of the workforce for at least 18 months to focus on caregiving. And one of the biggest challenges that returners face is their lack of confidence. And I actually saw that in the chat as well. Our program is designed with multiple levers to help returners regain that confidence and support their upskilling. So some of the things that the returnship program focuses on is one-on-one technical mentoring throughout the 16-week period, development workshops, a customized onboarding curriculum, leadership engagements, meaningful, impactful work, Adrienne, like you mentioned, and a supportive network community. But then above all else, we have empathetic managers who recognize the human aspect in this journey that can support returners during their career transition.
Oh, that's incredible. And again, just echoes what we hear from the respondents as well, which is we know and can validate that the contribution and the merits of their capacity is there. It's just a matter of helping them get over that hurdle of having been away. And like you said, empathetic leaders and internal allies can be so critical in providing that level of support, and then proving to themselves and finding the validation and doing the meaningful work. And then the skills training, you're just exhibiting the wonderful ways to create an environment in which everyone can thrive. So the organization recipients from the contributions, and then the talent themselves really feeling and regaining that sense of confidence they have to contribute. Srividya, can you share how some of those aspects that Iram just covered in the program made you feel during particular times in the program, or anything specifically that was a extra support or an encouragement that we could all learn from?
Sure, Adrian. So I have got a tremendous lot of amazing experience in my returnship. Starting from the buddy system. So each returners are assigned with a buddy, a fellow employee of Intuit. So they will constantly be in touch with us, helping us with everything, be it in our project, being navigate through the team, and everything, setting up your local machine. They will be our buddy throughout the program. And it is not necessary that we need to be in contact only with our buddy, but the whole, in my case at least, the whole team acted as my buddies, because they never treat you as a returnee, because they know that we have basic talent, basic knowledge of the subject. So they will never treat you as a returnee. They will always treat you as one among themselves. And the culture in Intuit is like that. They are being kind, they are being helpful with every aspect, every help I needed. Everyone is, I can definitely ping anyone in the team, ask for anything, they will be there for us. And the second thing is the managers and the one-on-one with my managers, and constantly in touch with the program coordinator. In my case, Iram was my program coordinator. So we have one-on-one schedules every 2 weeks. So my manager will tell me what's happening, how are my peers responding to my work, and what is my area of improvement, what should I improve. And and not only in my technical aspect, my manager will have we have discussed about our personal things also. So he always asks me, what is your plan if you want to transition, what is your plan on taking care of your kids, who's going to drop your kids to school, who's going to pick up, we have that kind of conversation too. My manager is like Ira mentioned, the empathy of my manager was amazing. I connected so well with my team, and Iram helped me through the transition process, like how Intuit Intuit Again, the process works and everything, the one-on-one thing, and the main part of my returnship experience is the Spotlight program. So yeah, Spotlight program is a program where any peers recognize any other peer for their work they have done. Like it can be like you have done a one simple task, like, which is very important, and you can get a spotlight for that. And returnees are also considered for, like, eligible for that spotlight. It's not only for employees. So I would say I'm a proud receiver of like 2-3 spotlights during my returnship. Yeah. So which gives us like all the validation, belonging, and like most of all the confidence, like, yes, I can do this. Like my peers like me, because like no one will give you a spotlight if they don't like your work, right? Like, of course. So yeah, that kind of validation, confidence, and then personal connection with the team and the manager and Iram, like you have a hell lot of like support system. They are holding us, you there. Your only job is to work what you are assigned with, and like keep developing yourself, actually. Yeah. This is my experience so far in my returnship program.
Well, I'd call that a incredible success, and congratulations on multiple spotlights. That's phenomenal. And your short tenure already getting that. And you're again reinforcing a lot of those themes around why the program, how the program wraps around the participants is what really paints the picture for a successful transition, as you've experienced, Vidya, into a full-time role as a full stack developer, which is no easy role to do, and you're getting spotlighted. But another thing you touched on that also shows up in the study and in our research again and again, is this idea that the prioritization of work-life integration. So the recognition of you as a caregiver and having a role outside of work was also acknowledged, right, by your manager and by your team, that didn't have to be concealed as though we don't have other tasks. No, that's at the forefront of your conversations and how meaningful that can be. And it sounds like that was your experience as well. Now, I will say that because we knew Intuit created such a good bridge, we wanted to dive in a little bit more with a recent survey that we conducted with former Intuit Again returners that are now full-time Intuit employees. So we asked about the extent to which the program made the returning participants feel that kind of sought out respect and validation that was shared in our previous study as being so critical. And this is what we learned. So they rated their experience with the Intuit Again program in terms of making them feel valued for their skills and contributions and feeling that sense of respect as a 9 and 9.4 out of 10 respectively. So incredible ratings. We also asked about how their experience at the Intuit Again program, excuse my word jumble there, had contributed to their ability to advance within Intuit. And the respondents rated that just over an 8 on a 10-point scale, which is incredible. And again, one of the reasons why we wanted to host this program. So you've really created a program that reflects what we understand, and we're seeing that validated in the survey feedback as well. So congratulations on that. We also know that returnships, and Aram, you touched on this, but provide access to a really high caliber, but underrepresented and often underlooked talent group, which can be great to bolster DEI goals. We also know, which we've covered on here today, that returners bring kind of this higher level of grit and tenacity. And Srividya, your experience echoes this, but this commitment to prove to the organization that gave them a chance and prove to themselves that they can do this. So we know that they're highly appreciative, they're grateful for the opportunity, and this can really lead to loyalty in an organization and to better retention. So Iram, can we talk for a minute about the beneficial outcomes the organization has yielded from this program? And then also, Srividya, can we ask you as a participant too? So we'll call it like a retrospective. We'll look back on the successes of the growth across time of the Intuit Again program. Iram, can we start with you?
Yeah, Adrian, thank you for sharing the survey results. I wasn't aware, so I'm so happy that everyone was very positive on the program. I feel incredibly fortunate that we at Intuit get to play a role in the journey of returners who are jumpstarting the next chapter of their careers. So Intuit was rated as one of Fortune's 2022 best workplaces for women, in addition to best workplace for parents and best employers for diversity, that's just to name a few accolades. The program aligns well with the Work Lab's return to paid work, powering successful transitions, steady recommendations. And the Intuit Again Returnship program, paired with our apprenticeship program, contributed to the increase in female representation and underrepresented groups, female and underrepresented group representation, oh, that's a mouthful, in Intuit Tech. So Intuit achieved 33% tech women representation in 2022, which is up from 28% in 2020, and outpaced the industry standard gender representation of 29%. That's a lot of stats, but we're so proud of this achievement. Just amazing. The Mom Project began supporting Intuit's returnship program in 2021 and has successfully partnered to place returners through the program for the past 2 years. And this the overall conversion rate for this program, we'd love to highlight this fact that it's 70%. So there's a really, great chance to be able to come into this program and really jumpstart your career from here.
That's excellent. Iram, I do see noted in the chat a few questions about the compensation structure for returning participants. Do you mind touching on that really quickly? Because I see it recurring. Can you
Sure. And I did, there were questions about whether this is for technical roles or if it expands across the organization. So our program focuses on tech because that is where we see the greatest need for gender parity, to increase gender parity. As far as compensation, it is an hourly rate, but it is a 40-hour work week but we want to make sure that the returners who come into this program do not work overtime. So we really want to keep that within that, work-life balance format to ensure that that on-ramp is smooth as they get back into the swing of things.
Excellent. Thank you for touching on that. And then Srividya, can you talk a little bit about outcomes within the organization that you've seen from having participated and then now being full-time?
Sure, Adrian. So, like I said earlier, Intuit prepare us. It is preparing stage. The returnship, I would consider that as a preparation stage for a full-time job, where you start as a returnee, assigned with a simple task like that, and that gives time for you to learn whatever you are lacking in your experience, and then each steps like Intuit give us time to prepare for that. There is a program called Dev at Intuit for all the new joinees at Intuit, which showcases every aspect of Intuit developing environment, so that give us a hang of like how everything works in Intuit. And the products we are working on is already among the customers, so it puts us into a lot of challenges because like whatever we are developing are the customer facing one. So it brings us challenges every time on every assignments, like which keeps on improving us from step 1 to step 10, where when you reach the step 10, like you will be ready for the full-time job already. And like I said earlier, we are covered, surrounded with all the support system we need. So Intuit, that returnship program is a preparation program for you to become a full-time employee. If you perform well, like if you give you 100%, you will be there for sure. Yeah, you will be ready for like not only in Intuit, like you will be ready for like full-time work in anywhere. Yeah.
That's excellent. So you really felt equipped and prepared when you made that transition, that it was smooth and you felt supported. And again, you had that support system that extended beyond just Iram, even though that was a wonderful outlet. And then from Iram's perspective, you're outpacing your peers and you're outpacing your competitors in spades in terms of gender parity goals being met through this program and through your apprenticeship program as well. So I would say profoundly successful. Now, as we're moving into the next year of Intuit Again, Claire, can we talk about you about some highlights for maybe other organizations or prospective returners interested to know or consider?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Adrienne. So I think one of the biggest things I'd like to highlight here, and it's actually been said multiple times by both Adrienne and Iram, is support from the full organization and an executive stakeholder in building out a returnship program at your organization. And at the very least, support within the broader department, and in Intuit's case, tech, is so key to the success of the program for everyone involved. And that being said, this is something that the Mom Project can really help guide and consult on. In Intuit's case, myself and a dedicated talent partner on our team have really worked hand in hand to support the needs, the talent needs of the returnship program at Intuit. We've had individual calls with hiring managers that are looking to host a returnee. Iram mentioned we're really looking for that open-minded, empathetic outlook, especially as returnees are going through the interview process. Specifically in tech, as we know, the tech market moves at lightning speed. And Srividya, you mentioned that you hadn't really coded for 5 years while you were out. Yet, as we're supporting this returnship at the Mom Project, and have myself and other partners internally speaking with these hiring managers, we can focus on looking past that gap and really encouraging them to look at the previous work experience and the skills that they've gained, whether it's a coding boot camp or nothing to do with coding and tech, skills that they've gained during their career pause. So having those individual calls with hiring managers is so key. And through the 2 years that we've supported the Intuit program, we have seen the impact that has truly made in year-over-year performance with support of the program. In our first year, we were able to place 4 returnees across a few different hiring managers. And this past year, we've placed 9, really expanding the hiring managers in which we're working across. And again, focusing in on that dedicated support and I'll call it informal training of the hiring manager looking to host a returnee.
Yeah, I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to interject that perspective taking that we can offer to hiring managers can be so important in establishing a good cadence with the returners themselves. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interject.
Exactly. No, that's okay. That's okay. And we're also offering support from the returnee side as well. Not only screening the candidates on the front end, but providing interview prep, resume review as the returnees head into those often somewhat daunting interviews, because it's not only their first interview, or might be their first in some time, but also in Intuit's case, because they're interviewing for tech roles, there's often some technical interview skills that are required as part of the process. They're going in and coding in real time as part of the process. And we're offering support there from the returnee side too. And then we're working with your TA teams, hiring managers, and program managers to really ensure a seamless and efficient process from initial application all the way to conversion of the returnee to full-time. And then one last thing I'd really like to highlight here is an added benefit from the Mom Project's reach and trust amongst our talent community, and how that really translates into increased awareness and overall volume of applicants for the returnee roles and program through different co-marketing initiatives that we will support throughout the recruiting period of the program itself.
Oh, I love that you closed on that because that's so true. That employer brand perception as an organization that really advocates, champions, and as an ally for gender parity and for caregivers is so fundamental. And I know that a huge percentage of the respondents from our study found out about returnships by being in our TMP community. So thank you, Claire, for sharing that. And I think these panel discussions can be so helpful because it really demonstrates clear expectations around what a prospective returner could anticipate. And then maybe for an organization considering returnships, what it's like to manage one and to run one and the yield that you can have, which is so tremendous. And now I'd like to move on to specifically the next cohort. So Iram, dovetailing on all of this, can you share what those that now are interested in learning more about the next cohort can do to find out when Intuit Again opens up or how they could apply or what that would look like?
Yeah, we will continue our new cohort early next year. And if you want to learn more about the program, I'll drop the link in the chat. If you're interested, I encourage you to complete the interest form on that microsite to be added to our talent community to receive upcoming program information. And I just want to offer like a bit of personal encouragement to anyone who is contemplating returning to the workforce. Over a decade ago, like I mentioned, I was being interviewed by some manager, director. He was a leader, and it was just coming off my career break. And I remember he asked me, like, why should he hire someone like me, who has like rusty skills and really I've been out of the workforce, and instead of somebody who can hit the ground running. And at that time, I didn't really have an answer because, from his perspective, he's right. He was right. But then now that I've gone through this program and I've been leading it for a number of years, I now have a solid answer. And I always think back to that conversation. So for anyone who is faced with that question, with confidence, I would say, tell them that you are a mid-career professional and that you offer three qualifications that most others maybe someone who's younger or just stepping into the workforce cannot offer. And that is, you bring prior work experience and you demonstrate professional maturity, and that you can offer stability and longevity in this role, in your role.
That's incredible. And can we all draft an email back to that? We'll sign it together and say, that's why. Thank you for sharing that. Claire, could you talk a little bit about what it's meant to you, just like Iram alluded to, helping this woman find that on-ramp and other caregivers find this on-ramp back into the paid workforce?
Yeah, thanks, Adrienne. Honestly, I'm not sure if there's, just a few words to describe how like special and humbling it is to not only support this program, but help women men find their way back into the workforce. And again, in this case, specifically through Intuit Again. But I also want to highlight, Iram very casually glossed over some stats earlier. I was just on a meeting with the Intuit team last year, and I think I saw that Tracy is on as well. Tracy works at Intuit and is head of their Women in Tech group. And her and Iram had shared with us that not just because of this program, but this program was a big contributor to the fact that they were able to reach 33% female representation within their technology department this fiscal year, which is just truly incredible. And that's up 28% from, I believe, 2019. I don't want to speak incorrectly to that date, but or year. But it's twofold here. Not only helping returners find their way back, but also helping organizations, specifically in my role, increase their gender parity, reach their diversity goals through specified programs like Intuit Again. It's just, you can't beat it.
That's excellent. Thank you. And as we have so many circular conversations around this idea of, like burnout and people really feeling strained and trying to find the right fit. We're talking about a subgroup that is eager and really committed and driven to trying to find any on-ramp back to, again, be able to validate that they can contribute well. So I think it's a really important that hiring managers and organizations really consider how overlooked this subset of the talent population is and how large it's become as an implication of the COVID experience. And when we talk about returners, and we're talking about caregivers, we're talking about a third of the potential workforce that could classify and could qualify as a potential returner, being that there's a third of the workforce that are caregivers. So before we shift to the Q&A, I'd love to hear a closing thought from Srividya, because you've been here, you've walked the walk, you've talked the talk, you're now in the role, you've successfully completed the program, you've gotten the spotlights, and you're a wonderful contributor into it. Now, can you just have a closing thought around what you hope those that are considering would see more clearly now or consider more clearly now about the power of returnship programs?
Sure, Adrian. As a from my experience as a who was a full-time mom, and who took break from work, sorry for the slip of the tongue, break from work to become a full-time mom. And then we love spending our time with our kids, being with them all the time, but we always miss our work. And we have this passion, having this break bring us the passion we didn't have before, that we have to prove ourselves to us, can I able to do it? Yes, I can able to do it. For that, that kind of passion we have inside us, so that will lead us to thrive through any of the challenges that you put in front of us. We have that kind of passion, because we are not proving ourselves to any of you or anyone else in the world. We have to prove ourselves to us. So that is the main quality we have. I think Iram would should add this into her list of list of things. And we are very quick learners, because we have the basic foundation that a job requires. We have prior experience, we have the basic foundation that the job requires. So whatever is put in front of us, we are very quick learners to get on top of that current technologies that is required. And most of us are nervous, I know. And people wish they know that we are scared, and then put us in a very ease of environment, gives us a awesome to help us dig us into our brain to bring out all the talent we really have. Yes. And the main thing is, I want to tell to any returner is, please be confident, because I know that you have that skill, and they will know that you have that skill too, with all your passion and all your multitasking skill that you gained as a full-time caretaker.
Well, I am fired up, and we are screen printing shirts that says passionately proving it to ourselves. So yes, your video and all proceeds go to you. That's an amazing mantra to hold. So thank you so much. It's been an incredible pleasure hearing about your success and your experience. And I think now we should dive into some questions. There are several. So Iram, I actually think the most beneficial thing we could answer, it looks like there's a lot of questions in particular about the structure of the program. So I wanted to touch on the potential to convert into a full-time role that's being asked, but also asking, will you reinforce again the eligibility, how many years experience that it takes to have to apply, and then whether or not it's specific tech-heavy requirements to apply as well. And then there's some questions around how much in person. Can you just cover some of the basics of the structure? Thank you.
Sure. So our program requires 5 years of prior work experience, with a minimum of an 18-month career break for caregiving purposes. And caregiving can be loosely defined as, for the self or for kids or for parents whatever it is, but that's the caregiving definition. And our program focuses on technical roles. Our specific program focuses on technical roles. And what else did you want to know, Adrian?
The conversion. So what is the anticipated
conversion? Yes, and the conversion rate is 70% for this program.
That's excellent. Thank you. And then Srividya, you've already done an incredible job. But so for those that are now going to go onto the site and fill out an interest form and are going to start the process, what do you want them to remember as now the wheels get in motion? Is there anything that you want them to remember beyond just passionately believe in yourself and prove it to yourself?
Yes, the another thing I want them to remember is like, don't worry, you don't need to be an expert in any technology. You just need to know the basic things. So the returnship program is there to make you an expert there later. And the second thing I want to know is like upgrade their resume. Keep preparing yourself, keep updating yourself with the tech. I mean, like as a technical employee, I'm saying from my perspective, keep updating yourself from the latest, like whatever you are working on. You might have worked on a previous technology, but like it's been changing every year, every month. So yeah, keep updating yourself, keep learning. So have a passion for learning, and remember that, keep in mind, you don't need to be an expert, you just need to know things.
Excellent. Thank you. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind as you go through the process. It's not specifically around an acute depth of expertise in a certain area, but it is more just around a competency that can be applied and upskilled into a role. Now, yeah. Claire, I see a lot of comments asking about what about returnship programs that maybe aren't technical. If they're interested in finding out more about all returnship programs, where could they go about doing that?
Yeah, so I would absolutely recommend creating a profile on the Mom Project platform. Most of you are probably already on there as candidates, a part of our talent community. Ensure that it's fully up to date with your resume, that your profile is 100% complete, and that you are keeping an eye out on your job match emails, where you'll get relevant job matches almost daily, sometimes at least weekly, depending on our volume. We do have many other partners that are currently running returnship programs, or if they're not currently running them, they're looking to launch them with us over the next year. And they would likely have non-technical roles as well. So that's, anything in the business professional space, could be marketing, HR, finance, etc. So definitely keep an eye out there as a candidate. And then if we have other organizations on the line still that are possibly looking to launch a returnship with the Mom Project, whether you already work with us or not, feel free to reach out to Adrian and myself as a starting point, and we can absolutely guide you to the right place. Adrian will work very closely with any organization that is looking to launch a returnship from the ground up.
Yes, definitely. We'll be able to bring all of the research intel to hopefully help mitigate some of the risks of trial and error. And we can also learn from incredible partners like Intuit, things that go well, that make it more seamless for those that are looking to pilot. I just want to commend first Intuit for developing a program like this that's been so profoundly beneficial to, again, gender parity goals and to on-ramping for caregivers. I'm grateful to this panel for participating and sharing your perspectives and experiences. I'm grateful to Iram for guiding and leading and mentoring these returners. And I'm so grateful for Srividya for being able to share her firsthand experience, and to all of those that have joined and organizations and talent making this leap to elevate more pathways for caregivers to returning to the paid workforce. We commend you up front. We want to partner and be an ally with you along the way, and we are here to provide support. We really encourage the talent that's been on this call considering the leap to feel emboldened, like Srividya said, passionately prove to yourself to take that step And to organizational allies that are interested in learning more, reach out to Claire and I and to any of your contacts at TMP. We're here to help guide that process. So there's going to be resources that are posted here, and you're going to put some links in. And additionally, we'll send a follow-up distribution to the entire guest list that has those resources. So we just want to close by saying thank you all for being here, and thank you, panel, for participating, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.